Yeah.
You don't have to be quiet yet. We got it.
I have 3 minutes.
Yeah, you got 3 minutes, Jill. 3 minutes, Jill.
I would like to thank you for the
No.
false start. The false start.
Your badness. Chief, no.
Recording in progress.
Uh-oh. Looks like we're starting. Okay. All right, hey, everybody. Welcome to the July 22nd, 2025 Town of Oakland meeting. Commission meeting, everybody, please stand for the pledge and remain safe. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kevin?
Lord, thank you for gathering us here tonight. We thank every person here. Lord, we thank you for the town of Oakland, for placing us here. Thank you for everything you've done for us. Pray that every word tonight will be edifying and building up and for our town. God, thank you for everything you've done. Amen.
All right, Kathy, Eden.
Commissioner Keller?
Here.
Mayor Taylor?
I'm here.
Commissioner McMullen?
President.
Commissioner Ramos?
President.
Vice Mayor Satterfield is absent.
Okay, well, thanks everybody for being here tonight. So we have a couple presentations to do. We're very honored to have our state representative, Mr. Leonard Spencer, with us tonight, who is going to give us a few updates of what's happening in Tallahassee. Good evening, Representative Spencer.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor Taylor. Thank you. Commissioners, thank you. Citizens of Oakland, thank you. So, again, thank you for this opportunity to provide just a brief update of the 2025 legislative session. And so, while the session has some challenges, I mean, it was a little long. I think record shows it was either the second longest or the longest session in history of the state of Florida. We were able to make some progress despite, those challenges. Progress that hopefully, I think you'll agree, delivered for the folks in House District 45 and the folks right here in Oakland. One of the most important local wins that we were able to achieve is $1.5 million was secured for the Northwest Wastewater Extension as part of the South Lake Apopka initiative. And these were funds that we were able to secure to support the much needed water infrastructure and help protect the Lake Apopka watershed. We know that in our area, this is a central part of our environmental and economic future, and it's important that we have the investments to secure that. We're also able to secure some other investments, including over $1.3 million for Windermere's water system improvements. And we were also able to deliver $150,000 for the Central Florida's Mother's Milk Bank, which provides mother's milk for some of the most vulnerable infants in our community. Now, we know that affordability remains a major concern for families here in Oakland and across Florida. And so we were able to continue funding for the Live Local Act, which supports workforce housing near job centers. And we were able to pass a budget that included over $2 billion worth of tax relief. And that includes the phase out of the business rent tax, which is something that business owners have been asking for decades. We also were able to extend sales tax holidays. And despite all of these achievements that we've had from a tax perspective, we understand that core drivers of affordability in housing and insurance remain unresolved. And that's where we'll continue to focus in the next legislative session. We're also focused heavily on job readiness and local economic development. I believe, as I'm sure many of you do, that small businesses are the backbone of our communities. That's why I supported expanding access to state-level grants and technical assistance for entrepreneurs, because these programs help small business owners navigate permitting, licensing, and most importantly, access to capital, particularly in communities without large-scale economic development, programs like here in Oakland. We took additional steps to strengthen our workforce pipeline. New legislation created performance-based funding model for apprenticeships, making sure taxpayer dollars are going to programs that actually deliver results. We also passed new requirements to ensure that students in hands-on training programs, whether it's in healthcare, in the trades, or even in infrastructure, can earn academic credit and access to career guidance. And that matters in fields where Central Florida faces worker shortages and where we have growing demand. This year's budget also includes pay increases for law enforcement and first responders, as well as expanded support for 24/7 mobile crisis teams, because these teams are able to provide mental health support during emergencies and help reduce pressure on law enforcement. We also maintain investment in clean water and sewer infrastructure. These projects protect natural resources and ensure communities like Oakland are ready for responsible, managed growth. We're also preparing for, in this next legislative session, some state-level discussions around property taxes. Lawmakers are beginning to float proposals that could reshape how cities like Oakland fund essential services. These discussions include potential changes to homestead exemptions, caps on local millage rates, and others. As these proposals move forward, I will do my best to be working to ensure that any changes protect homeowners without weakening the city's ability to invest in public safety, invest in infrastructure, and other economic development. Of course, there were some parts of this session that were difficult. Several bills passed that limited the local authority of local governments. That included preemptions on housing policy, tenant protections, and some environmental and workforce regulations. Now, I believe, as well as others, that cities like Oakland should remain and retain the ability to make decisions that reflect your local priorities. We also oppose the continued expansion of private school vouchers without accountability. Public dollars could be being used to divert to private institutions with little standards or oversight. And I believe this trend is weakening the stability of our neighborhood schools right here in Oakland, especially in working class and rural communities that depend on them. And despite growing pressure from homeowners, the legislature did not pass meaningful property insurance reform. Insurers remain shielded from accountability while families in this region continue to face rising premiums. And even so, with these difficulties, we did make some real progress. We were able to bring home some targeted funding. We were able to support small business growth. We were able to invest in workforce training, and we improved safety and infrastructure. At the same time, we stayed honest about where more work is needed, especially on insurance, the housing affordability crisis, and local control. Thank you again for your time. Thank you for your leadership, Mayor. Thank you for your leadership, Council. And I look forward to continuing to work with you and being a strong advocate for this community in Tallahassee. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Rep. Spencer. We really appreciate your effort, and thank you very much for looking out for us and getting that $1.5 million for us, which is a big help. We've been trying for a few years to get that, a couple of years to get that, and it happened. So again, thanks for pushing for us. So thank you.
Glad to deliver it and glad to continue to work for you and partner with you and the council to hopefully get some more done in Tallahassee this upcoming session.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go home to dinner. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, next presentation we have is our old audit results by Purvis Gray, and I believe Tiffany, how are you tonight?
Yes, how are you?
Good.
I'm a little short.
presentation. Gabby, I don't know if we can put it on the screen. I think so. Okay. I'd rather see that than me, so that's where we're going. Beautiful. Okay, so good evening. Thanks for having us. I am Tiffany Mangold. I'm the audit partner on your engagement, and I have with me Catherine. You know, she can wave from the back rather than stand up here like Vanna. She's a great Vanna, though, if we needed her. We're here today to present the results of your external audit for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2024. And so, I believe, let me just,
Just 1 second.
no problem.
Okay, we're ready.
Thank you. Okay, so we performed the annual audit, and so the first slide talks about the auditor's reports. And so your independent auditor's report, this is where we issued a clean opinion. That's the highest level of assurance that you can receive from an audit. It means that your financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects. One paragraph that we did have to add this year that'll go away next year is that the Oakland Avenue Charter School was audited by another auditor. So we put that financial information in there, but we did not audit them as of 6/30/2024. So that's just a new paragraph. If you're reading it, it looks a little different this year. Another thing that's included in there is just notes that it's management's responsibility to prepare the financial statements, and it's our responsibility as auditors to express an opinion on those financial statements. The next report that we have is still there, same slide, the internal controls over compliance and how these relate to your financial reporting and financial systems. And we check to make sure that you're in compliance with government auditing standards. And so here we look at your controls, and we found you to have no material weaknesses identified. We did have one significant deficiency, which I'll talk about on the subsequent slide, and then no material instances of non-compliance or other matters either. The management letter is something that would include items that don't rise to the level of a significant deficiency or material weakness, but are still important information to communicate to management. One thing is you had a prior year finding that's been rolled over for a number of years about just financial close and reporting, internal controls, and you guys worked pretty hard to get some consultants in this year, and they helped you with that internal controls, getting some of those designed. So we found that to be cleared, but we did sort of separate out, I think, the key points that we want to focus on going forward. So we do have one recommendation for the current year for financial management improvement. So if you could switch to the next slide, I'll just show you those two items there. So the first finding is the segregation of duties. So although you do have internal controls that are being developed, we think the issue is that you have a small finance and accounting department and customer service department. So the town doesn't have the resources to properly segregate those duties among employees. And I know this is all, just remind yourselves that this is as of September 30th, 2024. So since that time, you have now got a new town manager, and you have now made a lot of changes. So before that, there was a lot of weaknesses in that segregation of duties. And you've now taken a lot of those changes, but we're still gonna work with management and try to help them clean that up as best as we can and have that segregation of duties so not one employee has access to multiple things. As far as the management letter finding, that was just as we were looking at fieldwork, there was some disposals of capital assets that actually were still in process, still in working mode. And so the water system was disposed of, but it should not have been. So we just recommended that you work with each department and make sure that they're on board, that those assets are actually removed from the system. So on the next slide, we also look at your investment report and your compliance with Florida Statute 218-415, and we found the town to be fully in compliance with that, with all the requirements for the compliance, for the investment report. And you spent over $750,000 of federal funds, so you got a bunch of grant money, which is great news. Everybody loves free grant money, but with that comes some stipulations. So you have to have a single audit. And so this year, you did exceed the $750,000 threshold, but the ARPA funds is what did that to you. And so because of that, we could just do an engagement on the compliance for ARPA only. So we didn't have to do a full single audit. So we looked at that, we looked at how you spent your ARPA funding, and we found you to be fully in compliance, no issues there, no recommendations, completely in compliance with the requirements for that. So that is all the reports that are in the bound report that you would have. And then the separate report that you have is this communication with those charged with governance, or the governance letter. So it's just a technical letter designed for those in charge of overseeing the audit. It's 3 or 4 pages. So there's just some specific items that we're required to communicate to the commission, and that is in this letter. So first, you did adopt GASB standard number 101 this year on compensated absences, which is just a new standard that came into effect. You had to look at all your compensated absences. It only impacted the charter school though. You all didn't have any changes at the town, but the charter school did need to reevaluate some of their policies, which changed your net position by $41,000. Other stuff that is in here is your significant estimates, your useful lives of assets, other post-employment benefits, fair market value of investments, and leases and subscription-based information technology arrangements. All of that has estimates that go into it. These are the same, these are normal across all governments. They're just required to be communicated to you. The new standard that's coming into play next year is GASB statement number 102, certain risk disclosures. And the town, we've already talked about it briefly. I don't think you're going to have anything that's going to impact that, but what you're supposed to look for there is if you had any concentration. So one big customer that's driving your ad valorem taxes or your water rates and your revenue, which we talked about, you do have a couple of those. But in the next 12 months, are any of them gonna fail and not give you your funding? Probably not. So just something to consider is that in the next 12 months, is there any likelihood or not, the possible likelihood that probable or not, that they're going to actually fail and you wouldn't be able to rely on those revenues, which I don't think you'll have any of that for this year, hopefully. So finally, there's a couple other items. One is that we had no disagreements with management. We had no significant deficiency or difficulties in dealing with the audit, but there is one area that we would like the town to focus on, as well as just the due tos and froms between funds. And so we've talked to Gabby a lot about that and your finance team, and they're gonna look at that and just make sure. So the balances have stayed the same a couple of years, and so we think you have enough cash in there that you have sufficient cash to clean those up and see which funds owe the other funds money, and then we can audit that with her, work with her next year. And then just some financial highlights. So remember, this is almost a year ago at this point that we're looking at this data. So we're looking at 2024, September 30th. And your general fund is on this slide here. So if you look at your revenues, your total revenues was $9.3 million, up about $1.1 million from last year. Your main change there is just in your taxes. You had a lot of new developments, so more taxes coming in, more revenues in that sense. Your intergovernmental revenue also was up last year by $149,000. And so that was your grant funding and your outsource funding. I have paper here. Okay. So that was your half-cent sales tax that increased $241,000, but then it was offset by the FEMA revenue from the hurricane damage the year before that didn't come in again in 2024. Your expenditures decreased $950,000. The main line you can see there is that capital outlay line of $1.3 million that changed for the year. It's because you purchased that HVAC system the year before, so that's the big difference there. But also public safety increased $383,000, and that's an increase in the fire rescue services. That was passed through you all. And then you can see at the bottom, so your total net change in fund balance is $1.1 million, which as you see on the right side, that total assets increased by about the same amount. Unassigned fund balance also increased about the same amount. That's pretty normal. But one line I would like you to really take a look at is that second column, second table, 2024, the dark blue at the bottom, it says unassigned fund balance as a percent of current expenditures. This is the number you want to look at if there was a hurricane or there was anything you should be stressed out. You're not getting that revenue when you should. You have 37%. That means you have 4.5 months worth of funding in your unassigned fund balance that can pay for expenditures if you really needed them. So that's great. The GFOA, they recommend 25%, so you're at least 25%. So you're in good financial standing there, where last year you were only at 23%. So you've done a good job in 2024 with that. And on the next slide, this is your impact fee fund. The main change here, licenses and permits decrease 161,000. Capital outlay decrease 442,000. The main thing I did want to show you here is your non-spendable on the right side at the bottom. Your non-spendable fund balance went from $1 million down to 0. So that was your Oakland roundabout that is now operating, and you're getting it from Orange County fully, but you had all prepaid to Orange County, and we've determined that 237,000 of that should have gone into capital outlay, and the other 770,000 is due to you from the county. So it's just reclassed a little bit, and it really went down into restricted again. So it's not non-spendable anymore, it's back in restricted. And on the next slide, I think this is the last one. Your enterprise fund, you can see your revenues increased $304,000 across the board. Again, more customers, more revenues coming in. Your expenditures, your operating expenses increased $156,000. There is various small increases there, but the main increase was in your wastewater rates that were passed through to you all. And then the capital contributions at the bottom decreased, $186,000. That you spent more ARPA funds last year than you did this year. And so your change in that position overall is $933,000 that you've brought in for the year. And your unrestricted net position as a total percentage of total expenses on the right, again, that same place, is at 65%. So in the enterprise fund, you have 7.5 months worth of expenses there to cover your needs if you had any reason to need them. So overall, that's the audit presentation, but really very clean audit. Your finance team was very easy to work with. There are a couple things we want to improve with them on. They are well aware of it. It's not any surprise to them, and they're ready. I think they're very transparent at giving us everything and provided everything timely, so we appreciate that. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for everybody?
Thank you very much. 7.5 months, is that compared to the rest of the cities or towns?
It's pretty good. You don't want to go too much lower than that, I would say, because it's your enterprise fund. So your rates, you got to make sure that you're bringing in enough rates and you're covering those costs of the capital improvements that you're going to need across the board. So it's not including any of that capital asset depreciation. You have to consider those things that are going to need to be replaced over time.
But 7.5 months is healthy?
Healthy, yes, healthy.
Anyone else?
I got some quick question. So are we suggesting that Gabby gets a little bit more help?
Yes, I think she can probably answer it better than me, but I do think what we had noticed is Gabby has a lot of control, and it's very hard to do that with a small finance team, to reduce that control and to spread it out. So even if Gabby has that control, to have more of an oversight, like a detection control after the fact, it could be someone in her same department, it could be a different department, someone else who can make sure that money's not transferred to the wrong accounts, things that, we did look at everything is fine, so please don't be alarmed by any of it. But I think she could use some more help for sure.
So it's just another check balances on her end.
On herself,
So
right?
The HR director, if you wanted to, so want them.
Yeah, could you repeat that for me?
It could be like the HR,
Oh, sorry, yes.
somebody
Yes.
in-house, if you wanted to say, you know,
You just want to make sure the same person isn't able to add a vendor, write a check, reconcile the bank, and they're the only ones who are going to find it. So just think about how the fraud could happen and what would they do. They would add a vendor probably, or they'd be paying themselves probably. But then if they're the ones reconciling with the bank, they're the only ones who are going to see it. So there's a lot of small towns and cities that have trouble with fraud because of a small finance team.
got it.
So even just I know you all do review the checks, and I think you all sign off on the checks and before they go out. But I think the bank reconciliations, just making sure one wasn't not put into that packet. Just some things like where could things be hidden is the question.
Right. I personally review the checks and the
Yeah.
statements and question if there's something coming up, so.
And I believe you do that for the school too, the charter school.
Yeah,
So
Gabby is frustrated because I ask her questions about your questions.
good. I'm glad to hear that.
I want the record to reflect I did not get frustrated.
you're happy to have questions.
I am happy to answer any question.
Yeah.
Write that down, right?
But your team has been a pleasure to work with, and I think we always appreciate that. Like, there's room for improvement, as there are in any town, cities, big counties. They can have 40 people and still need improvements, you know? So I think just knowing that there is room for error is the key to fixing it, and having those detection controls. Even if it's once a month, like a listing of it all, once a month sign off, so that someone's approving it.
I was just gonna say thank you again for the audit, and I actually wanted to thank Gabby, because I think we do run with a very lean staff here. And there's a reason we do that. We know from just going through budget stuff how tight things are, and I think Gabby does a great job, and I know just same questions I've had since I've been on the commission, she's always forthright, and I know it's a lot of work for one person, so thank you both, but thank you also, Gabby.
Thanks, Gabby. Good?
All right, you guys should approve it. Just a recommendation, but yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Tiffany.
We're gonna leave.
Thank you all.
Yes, absolutely. Get a long drive back to camp.
Yes.
Good luck. No approval on this one right now? No?
Did she just say that they should approve it? Vote to accept the audit report?
Okay, okay. So, anybody want to make a motion to accept the report?
I'll make a motion to accept the report.
A second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, moving on. Consent agenda this evening in its minutes from our last meeting of 7/8/2025 Town Commission work session, and approval of the ability to serve alcoholic beverages at our upcoming Music Under the Oaks in Bear Lake Park, I believe in October. So it's a, I understand, 80s and 90s cover band. Sounds fun? Okay. Motion, anybody, any questions, concerns?
No.
No? Okay, make a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Great, next is second reading of a public ordinance 2025-04 for impact fees.
An ordinance of the Town of Oakland, Florida, amending section 14-183, impact fee schedule on chapter 14 of the Town of Oakland Code of Ordinances, making findings, amending the town's administrative facilities, police, parks and recreation, water and wastewater, impact fees, providing for authorization of town officials, providing for conflicts, codification, severability, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. I believe from our last ordinance reading, we've kind of beat the impact fee a lot. We tried to get as much. We increased impact fees from their previous, the only one, I believe, is Parks, where we have adjusted that one. It's not as high as we wanted, but according to the auditors, that we can't do it this time. So, is there any comments or questions from the table?
I think you know where I stand on this. I've been pretty clear that we need to move forward, and I think, it's the only way that we just gotta get up to speed with all this new development and making sure that we're covering the impacts of infrastructure to the town.
Okay, I guess what this is gonna do. So this is a public hearing, so does anybody in the audience have any comments? Okay, hearing none, close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
On the spirit of not leaving nothing on the table, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2025-04, second reading, public hearing of impact fees.
Second,
I'll second the motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, moving right along. Next item is our other policy matters, and this is in regards to our discussion from the last meeting about the dirt roads and open shores and how to maybe help fund that, if that is so the direction it moves. So in our last meeting, we asked our town attorney to please research how we can do this, because as you heard, our town funds are very, very limited. We run on roughly this next cycle $10 million budget for the town, and that has to cover everything from general fund, which includes salaries and police and everything up to, you know, our enterprise fund, which is water, sewer, and all that good stuff. That goes along with it. So, we've asked our town attorney to prepare something and to find out what our options are for something like that. So, we'll turn it over to Stephanie.
All right, thank you, Mayor Taylor. As Mayor Taylor just referenced, I've been asked to make a short presentation to you about the process for implementing special assessments for road paving for some currently unpaved roads in the town. Of course, along with the paving of roads, consideration must be given to any needed drainage features, utilities, street lighting, signs, etc. along those roadways. Basically, there is a procedure set forth in Chapter 170 of the Florida statutes that allows municipalities to make improvements to streets and to assess the costs involved in the improvements. And that statute sets forth the procedures for implementing the improvements as special assessments. The special assessments would be placed on the property's tax bills to be paid by the owners of the benefited properties over a period of not to exceed 30 years. Alternatively, property owners could pay the costs in full once the construction is completed. In order to start this process, the town would need to hire consultants who would essentially shepherd the town through the process of first planning the improvements, conducting surveying of the existing rights-of-way, costing the improvements out, arranging bond financing for the initial payment of the costs, and apportioning the costs among the various benefited property owners. There would be public hearings along the way, and affected property owners and others would have the opportunity to have input in the process. This is not a simple process, but it is certainly manageable. A lot of work would go into the project before the town would actually adopt a resolution outlining the project in full. I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have. If I don't immediately have the answers, I can get back with you at your next meeting to address any unanswered questions. And I also have Becky Vos, the founding partner of our firm, on the phone as well. She can assist with fielding any questions that come up.
Okay, thanks, Stephanie. I'll open it up to the audience in case there's any questions or anything. Anybody here on the table have any questions or?
Yeah, I had some, just clarifying questions to more understand this. Would this be anything similar to a Chapter 190 development district? Or something like a redevelopment agency, downtown improvement area?
This is different than the process set forth under Chapter 190. Chapter 190 governs community development districts. Those are independent special districts, and so they have their separate boards with decision-making authority. It's a different way of improving parts of the town. But it does not have a whole great deal of interaction with the process set forth in Chapter 170 for special assessments.
So on the Chapter 170, number 5 on the information that was sent to us, the equalizing board, final assessment role and recordation and credits, it talks about a governing body. And when you mention special assessments, you know, the improvement or hiring consultant to get improvement costs and portioning the costs that each homeowner is going to be affected with. Would there be a necessity for us to create a board within that community to decide? And I'm just using numbers examples because I'm not familiar how many homes are being affected, but if there's 30 homes and 20 decide to go forward, do the other 10 get outvoted and they have to pay the asphalt, or do they say, I'm not gonna pay for the asphalt for my home, I'm fine with recycled asphalt bins?
Under the statutory scheme set forth in Chapter 170, the town commission, as the governing body of the town, has full authority over this process. And so while some property owners may not want to pay the special assessment, it would be added to their tax bill. Once approved, it would take on the quality of a lien, and it would be able to be collected in any way that a lien would be, including foreclosure. So this is not a voluntary participation type of situation.
Thank you so far.
Anyone else? No? Okay, so this is not something that's gonna happen right now, it's just one of the avenues that we're exploring if, the community, decided to say, we really, really, really want asphalt roads. Again, I stress that our budget is very limited on doing this. We do not have the money the town does not have money, when I say we, I mean all of us sitting here in this room, do not have the money to go through and pave roads. So the option that we came up with was the asphalt millings to utilize on those roads. Now, I know that most people would love to have asphalt roads in front of their house. You sit there and say, well, come on, we're 2025, well, how come everybody doesn't have asphalt roads? It just all comes down to finances, folks, is what it is. So, with that, is there any comments or anything anybody would like to make? Yes, sir.
I did want to add one thing, if I could, before we go to the public forum. You know, one of the things that Stephanie mentioned was as part of this, hiring a consultant, which the town has already done and determined, what we could do for the roads. And, we looked at a process based on the funds that we do have, and obviously we came up with the millings. So, we have tried to find a solution that would work within the funding that we have, and we have done examination of all the roads. So I think that's an important thing to just add in the record before because again, this is something that is separate and would affect those areas if those residents, push that this is what they want. But again, we have assessed and we have professionally had the roads looked at and identified and within the boundaries of what we can fund over time. So I just think that's an important kind of thing to remember.
Yeah, and I will say none of us up here are against asphalt. Not at all, not at all. But we have to live with what we have, what we got, what we can afford at this point, so. Okay, Scott,
Before it goes to the record, to the public, also, we're not complete with those streets.
I'm sorry.
We're not complete with the asphalt millings on those streets. We're not 100% complete. The new contractor, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, is coming next Monday?
That's correct. We originally had planned on the week of July 7th. He got tied up with other commitments, so we're ahead of ours. So we got bumped for 2 weeks, but he will be here on Monday to begin the replacement of those millings that we had removed with the proper material.
Okay. Good. All right, Scott, let's try it again. Wait, I got one more thing I want to say.
Scott Wren, 305 Edge Grove. I figured I would start this off tonight because a lot of people are here because of what I've started. So let me hit on a couple things that were up here first before I even say. So nobody's against paving up here. But yet at the last meeting when I brought up West Gully, there was a comment made that that material looked too much like paving. But that material produces a lot less dust than what we have. So the project isn't finished. I have 6 more videos taken today of dust on Arrington and Vic. Significant dusting on the materials that you all have said are complete in our town, in our community, I should say. Anybody who's willing to see them, my video that you disputed is true as well. So you're working within a budget. So we had dry, loose, dusty materials on our roads. And you were spending money to put down more dry, loose, dusty materials. I don't know how that's an improvement. We just heard from the audit that the town increased their revenue by 1.1 million, approximately. I think you could pay most of the roads in Oakland for 1.1 million. I think trying to push this on the residents as an ad valorem tax is a tactic to make this go away. All we asked for when we started this 2 years ago was to address the dust. You chose to pick a new surface. As of 2 weeks ago, it seems like you weren't even aware that the millings that you were putting down are variable. You weren't aware that they were going to be as dusty because some of the other roads weren't dusty. So that's not on us. You chose the materials. We only asked for dust control, and I even gave options for that years ago. You weren't aware of the drawbacks until the last meeting, it seemed to be. The millings were chosen only after a few minutes of discussion. There was no analysis done to see whether they were suitable for our town. So next year you budgeted $500,000 for improving other roads in Oakland. I know some residents here, and I know the materials that are in front of their homes. If you put down the millings like are on Arrington, they're gonna have more dust than they have today with the old road. So why was there no analysis done on the millings? These materials, I believe from the last meeting, you said that the town attempted, they just decided to put some milling materials down after the West Gully road surfacing, and you put them down dry. How can a dry, loose material do anything better for the roads that we have? The other thing is, we referenced Lake County had millings on roads like this. And I was wondering if we know where those roads are and what procedure they used to put them down. If they were just put down dry with a road machine or not. Do we know what roads we referenced in the meeting for Lake County?
No, I don't recall what roads those were.
Okay, and the firm that you hired that did the assessment on what we could use on our roads, they said there were asphalt millings done in South Florida. So we didn't even have a chance to see what the millings would look like. The one last thing, so next year, the $500,000 for road improvements that are gonna be paid for by impact fees, that's gonna be using asphalt millings on other roads in the town, is that correct?
Can someone explain the impact fees used on that? There was a budgeted amount of $500,000, but it was for improvements of other roads throughout town with this type of material. Is that correct, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna improve dirt roads with more basically loose, dry materials.
Yes.
Thank you. And the last thing I'd like to say before you try and assess us for paving, there was one property down by the water. I think the town spent $200,000 to $300,000. Did they get an assessment for fixing their shoreline?
No.
No. And the other thought, when your neighborhood is going to need to be repaved, are you gonna charge your residents an assessment to repave your roads?
No.
Why not?
Because it's part of a maintenance program that goes along with the town as part of what's in this $500,000 funding. It's a maintenance program.
Okay, so we pay for everybody's paved
No,
roads.
no. So you live on a dirt road, right? And I will dispute the fact that you say we did not try different materials. I mean, anybody who's been on that road, who lives in that neighborhood, has seen different materials put down there on that road. There's everything from clay to sand to the stuff we tried in Windermere to this millings material that we tried. And we tested it out, as you know, on Hull, and we tested it out as well as on Petrus. And we did another subject test on Gully, I believe. And all of those worked and created a road that we felt was good.
And the residents who live on Hull and Petrus. Is there any residents on Hull and Petrus here in the audience? No, because it worked there.
Yeah, but it didn't work on our roads.
Correct.
That's why I'm here.
Well,
And that's why they're
That's why
here.
we're having a new contractor bring in the new millings, and we want to find out how that's going to be effective.
Okay, and then if those work, you're gonna replace Arrington and Vic, because those are the two big problem roads right now.
We'll have to consider that after we see.
Okay, that's what we wanna know. I think a lot of people wanna know what's gonna be done. So,
Well, and I can tell you that, when I first started coming to commission meetings, and this was coming up before I was on the commission, I remember the conversation of dust reduction. I don't ever remember a promise of no dust. I also would argue that I do live on a paved road, and I live in a new development. I guarantee you, I paid for that paved road in the cost of my new house, because the developer passed that cost on to me. I can also tell you that at one point, I looked at in a house on the older part of town on a dirt road, and when I drove by and saw that it was on a dirt road. I actually called my realtor and said, I just don't think this is right for me. I don't wanna live on a dirt road. So, while I do totally understand that times have changed with traffic and such on dirt roads, there are neighborhoods in town with dirt roads, and there are neighborhoods in town with paved roads, and there is a choice of where you choose to purchase your home. So, trust me, this isn't something that we want to do. But again, I don't think the promise was ever no dust. I think it was dust reduction. And I think that because of our funding and costs that we have available, we have to look at all the options.
Okay, well, let me show you the videos before you leave tonight, because I don't think that's dust reduction, and that's why I'm up here. That's part of the problem.
I can tell you, I drive down those roads regularly, checking it out and seeing how things are going, and I have not seen a lot of dust. Granted, I don't live on those roads and see it every day. I would say I'd like to hear from the other folks in your neighborhood.
That sounds good. Thank you.
I'll be happy to share.
Yeah.
Hello, friends. I'd like to just start by saying,
Name and address.
that's okay. Joel Kaufman, 307 Itch Grove Lane, and I'd like to start by saying,
Oh, look at that.
I'm not used to microphones. No, I'd like to start by saying I love living in Oakland, Florida, and I know that working in government can be a thankless job. So I just want to say thank you for the work that you guys do, for sure. I also want to just kind of provide my perspective as a homeowner in that spot. Mayor Taylor, you mentioned that there are a lot of surfaces that have been tried, and I appreciate the effort that comes with that. The point that you made about living on a dirt road, I think is a valid point. I think the big change that took place, when my wife and I moved here in 2019, we loved living on a dirt road. It was quaint, it's nice, we love that about Oakland. But over time, especially when Oakland Park was developed and there were entrances that were created there, and that turned Vic from a road that was seldom used to a road that's used quite frequently from Oakland Park residents as well as other residents going through. The amount of dust that began to be created from the roads that were there became truly unbearable at that point, which is why some of the requests to address the dust came in the first place. My question is, I would imagine that the impact fees that came to the town have been raised in large part with Oakland Park being built right next to Oakland Shores. And the amount of traffic that has increased, especially down Vic, is substantial. The amount of delivery trucks, all of that comes with that has made a huge impact. And from my perspective, the change in dust has been truly minimal. I mean, it is perhaps a reduction, but it's a slight reduction if that. And the problem is it went from white dust to black dust. And the reality is we have more and more traffic that is coming through that is not a result of any improvements to our properties or any of those things. That the request to bring better road pavement or better road solution really has come from the impact of that additional traffic that's come through. So from our perspective, or from my perspective, I'll just speak for myself, it seems a little strange to be addressing an impact, and then that money that was spent on those, and you mentioned, Sal, that there's a possibility that as you address that for Edgegrove and for Arrington, that it'll improve. But as far as I know, there's no plan to address Vic, and the reality is we have an impact from all of this additional traffic that's coming to our neighborhood, and for us to be assessed for these improvements just seems a little bit unfair, knowing that there is additional revenue that's coming to the town that is going to be spread throughout the infrastructure of the town, and I think it should be, and that's good. I want Oakland to thrive as a community as a whole, not just our neighborhood. But from our perspective, I've got 3 little girls. When the white dust and the pavement or the dusty roads over there before the millings were put down,
I mean, the reality was at least they could walk barefoot on the road. They can't walk barefoot anymore because what has been put down is so rough. When the original work was done, my wife and I walked through our streets and picked up glass. We picked up lots of metal shards. I mean, I think Scott brought that in a previous meeting. I haven't been able to attend the meetings up to this point, but I mean, the reality is it was extremely poor work that was done, and every dump from one dump truck to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, we literally saw the materials getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse over time. So the reality is that like this project has not been super well managed from the jump, and I'm not trying to assign any blame to any one person. I think the contractor that we hired is taking some heat for that, and I think he should. But the reality is like we need to find a solution that can work. And from my perspective, I have a question. Henshin and I'm not sure what's the road that's east-west gully that's been actually fully paved. Which road is that? Is that Henshin? No. Star's been paved. That's in north-south, but in east-west, it's Henshin. Henshin's been fully paved. Were those residents assessed impact fees for that paving?
No, were they? No, they were not.
And my question is like, what was the reason that particular road got asphalt, like that got paving? Like,
So the materials that were on that road and the condition of that road were a lot worse than what yours, plus the traffic from the charter school.
Okay, so charter school traffic.
Yeah, because people would drop their kids out
Totally.
of school and they would run and they would cut around.
Totally.
And run back out in the four ways.
That makes 100% sense. That makes sense to me. And from my perspective, the traffic on Vic is quadrupled since Oakland Park has opened up. And so my question is like, why are those citizens not being assessed impact fees to create pavement on those roads? And Vic, which goes from Tubb over to Star's been paved. Vic goes from Tubb to Star, and Oakland Park is there. Like, why can't we put a road that makes sense for that reality?
So, ask a question real quick. So, Vic, you said it's a cut through right now from Oakland Park.
100%.
And people coming from Star to Tubb Street. Probably going to the park, right? Because it's a straight shot.
That happens a lot, yeah.
Down to the park, possibly. I know that I've seen an increase in traffic in my neighborhood, and I used to live on the corner of 301 Ed Road. That was
right.
So I've been through the challenges of different road mixtures and all that stuff that's happened there. Then we purchased a house down the street. But, yes, there is an increase in traffic coming out of Oakland Park, our street, especially right there at Denman's, just coming straight on down and getting out to Tubb Street. Same with the street above us, Milholland, going straight out, and then yours being Vic, straight out. So I don't know if I asked this question, but maybe I'll ask this question. If there is an impact, okay, to Vic, and it's a traffic, what happens? Is there a study? Can we do a study for Vic only?
For the use of impact fees to make improvements on Vic, yes, I would ideally like to see some sort of traffic study demonstrating that the impact is in fact coming from new development and not a change in conduct of the people who live in the older neighborhoods. We've heard a lot of discussion about people are ordering Amazon and people are ordering groceries, and so we want to make sure that this is really being driven by new development.
So I think when we talked before about Amazon and deliveries, that's a lifestyle change to people. You could run to the Publix and pick your groceries up versus the Amazon truck coming through. So the impact would not be from Amazon and Kroger and those guys. Now, they are the biggest problem. We addressed that. We addressed that from the day one, that those guys, Amazon, UPS, FedEx, Kroger, just hauling butt down the street and starting with dust. And that's what kind of started this whole conversation about dust.
And we don't want to get into the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit.
Well,
we'll have that conversation later. But.
Right, but they were the biggest reason why we started discussing this in those areas.
And
We did, and I will say that we did do, I think we did some due diligence on trying to find a suitable material to try to use to mitigate some of the dust issues. If we, and I'm not speaking, and we'll all kind of chime in here, I'm sure, but I don't believe impacts are affecting Edgegrove. I don't think impact fees are affecting Matherstone. Running around, I could probably buy into Vic possibly.
100%. Vic, Edgegrove, Mather-Smith, Harrington are different conversations.
That's
Vic
right.
it's a thoroughfare, and Edgegrove and Harrington, I think the big problem that Scott and Annette are communicating is that the materials that have been put down, the quality of material that got put down on Vic and the quality of material that got put down on Edgegrove and Harrington are markedly different, and
Yeah.
you can tell the difference, and that's why you're redoing it, which.
We agree with you 100%. That contractor has been terminated, his contract's been terminated. The materials have been removed. And I think that knowing what's happening, I'm sure the town and Public Works will keep a very, very close eye on what goes down next with that. And hopefully if bad materials start coming out, they'll stop the job.
I want to be mindful of time, but just to address the traffic study that you mentioned, you asked the question, is it either the Oakland Park new construction that's being put there, or is it Amazon drivers, Kroger delivery, whatever it may be, is that use of, I don't know what term you use, but change of habit. And I don't know that it's necessarily either or.
It's not.
Right.
It could certainly be a portion is driven by new development and a portion is driven by change in conduct of folks who live in the older neighborhoods.
No doubt. So as we look at doing that study, the reality is that the impact of Oakland Park being opened up, from my perspective, there's a benefit there because I can get all the way to Winter Garden now through Oakland Park now that, especially now that Plant Street and Oakland Avenue is closed. That's great. But the reality is that it's not just, people going to the park, but it's a lot of people who are joyriding through the community back and forth. Teenagers on golf carts going extremely fast, and because the dust is still a problem, it's a huge issue, especially on Vic. I think Edgegrove and Arrington, if we can find a suitable material that can work, that's not what it currently is, and if we can make Vic, whether it's paved or a suitable material, I think that would make a lot of residents.
Is the dust better than what the old material was?
My perspective is that the dust is different. It has gone from white dust to black dust. There may be a slight reduction of, when it was the white dust, you would kind of see a dust cloud that would then kind of pass through. But it is not anything close to no dust. And if it is a reduction, it's very slight.
And that's on Edgegrove?
On Vic.
On Vic.
Mm-hmm.
You're on Vic or Edgegrove?
I'm on the corner of Edgegrove and Vic.
Okay.
Yeah. That's all I have to share. Thank you guys for listening. Really appreciate it.
Anyone else? Yes. Yes, ma'am. Oh, sir. Sorry. Let's see your name.
I don't really have a lot. I'm Murray Kennedy. I'm at your old address, 301 Edgegrove. I'll be honest with you, if we were going to change anything, I'd rather go back. If we have to use the stuff that we're using now, I'd rather go back to the dirt that we had when I first moved here. We went from dirt to mud. I can't even wash my car anymore. And now we're going to this pavement that you can't walk on because it's got so much trash in it. They did remove that, which was great. I'm glad they did, but now we're back to the mud. So if they can remove the mud and just give us some nice dirt and keep it graded, I'd rather have that than that stuff that they're putting down. Because now I have, and I don't know, I'm 66 years old, I've never been allergic to anything, and now all of a sudden I'm allergic to dust. And so I just went to the doctor, now didn't you hear my voice. So I don't know if it was a change in the type of dust or just my age or whatever, but I'm on the corner, so I don't get just 30 foot of dust. I get 120 foot of dust. And the problem is everybody's learning the back roads because of Oakland being shut down. So you have to find another way of getting home. And what happens is people are starting to find new ways to get home, and that's why there's traffic on Mattersmith, a lot more traffic on Mattersmith since I've been living there. And Edge Grove don't have a lot, but there's enough to keep a lot of dust up. But Mattersmith is as busy as Vic. They're coming through there, they're wanting to get home, and I get it, man. I went to work a lot, and I drive a lot faster coming home than I did going to work. And in the afternoons, you just see them blowing by. It's just everywhere. But really, me, I would rather, if we had to use that milled material, I'd rather go back just to the old dirt roads, because to me, the dust was better. If I had to have dust, I would rather have that dust than the new dust. That's all I got to say. Yeah. I'd rather have the old dust than any of the new dust. And I don't know if that's having an effect on my life, but I've lived for 66 years and never had any kind of issues, and I'm sorry to have that issue.
Thanks, Bert.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Gene?
My name's Jean Robinson, and I live on Vic too, but I live on West Vic. And if you go, and I know I'm not going to be popular, but we were taking a vote on which dust is better. And personally, if you go down Vic, your Vic Street, I live right by the park. Every time I drive down that street, I'm like, this is so nice. Because I live on a dirt road that has gullies, and I mean, when it rains, it washes it out, and at least, okay, you might have dust, but we have dust, but you don't have gullies and stuff. And so the issue I have is almost like, and I know I'm not going to be popular here, and I'm sorry, but you have something. And I feel like it's kind of like when you have all these projects in your house, you have like these seeds at the beginning you need to do. You need to do your lawn, you need to replace bushes, you need to finish your driveway. And you skip the beginning projects because you see something that's cooler or more exciting. So then all of a sudden you haven't trimmed your bushes because you got a new tree. And so I don't come to every meeting, but I do remember one meeting that I came to, and the whole, everyone here said we wanted some kind of plan on the roads. You know, I'm fine, I know we don't get as much traffic as some, but we do get quite a bit. And okay, if you're gonna do, of course, Star first, that's fine, but I thought at that time we were going to get an idea of what we were going to happen, that you guys were going to give us an agenda. We're going to do this street, and then we're going to do this street, and then we're going to do this street. And all of a sudden, I haven't heard anything on that. We haven't got any agenda. We haven't got any information about what streets are going to be done, what order they're going to be done. All of a sudden now, we're going to pave, or we're going to redo streets that's already been done. And it's again, it's like, instead of trimming that bush, now we're gonna get a new tree, because that's more exciting. So I think we need to think about it. I'm not saying the road is perfect, but we live right across from the park, and our road has literally water, and it floods, it's got gullies, so dust is kind of only one scenario. So you might want to think about that.
So do you need, so there was an order done.
And I might have missed it.
And published on.
Oh, well, I don't always go to the meetings.
Yeah, right.
I don't always go on that,
Yeah.
so it'd be great if I could get that.
Get a
Just-
copy of it.
Yeah, just so I could at least,
Yeah.
again, I think everywhere, I would just like to know what's happening. And again, this kind of could have been me, I missed it, and all of a sudden I come in this meeting and say, oh, now we're gonna do this instead.
Right.
You know, such work.
So you're correct, your road, being West Vic, it goes downhill and it washes out. does.
It's, yeah, I'd love to have your guys' road.
Okay. Thank you. Well, if we dig up that, we'll move it down.
Yes,
You may not enjoy it.
Recycle it for you.
This is John Hammerstein, 306 East Vic Avenue. Of course, I live at the corner of Vic and Arrington. And I know what the dust used to be. And I know what it is now. And I would say it's 70–80% better. We did our own little survey on our front porch. We got white plastic furniture. And it does have a little bit of dark dust on it since that road was made. And I cleaned the front porch. But nothing like it used to get. I don't get the dust inside my garage anymore. Which I used to get the white dust inside the garage. So what we have on Vic and Arrington is at least 70% better than what it used to be. The beginnings of this, there was a specific term I used intentionally that was called dust mitigation. Okay, and then that's kind of morphed into less dust, or I don't know what you said. Anyway, but that's kind of the, you know, the standard of where that is, dust mitigation. And I look at this as a huge learning curve for the town. Because you guys do have plans, you're gonna go forward, you're gonna do more roads. And so we were first, but we were also the most involved with what the best process might be going forward. I think it's fair to look at Vic as it meets Tubb, and then even Arrington as it meets the trail, which is a short piece, possibly for paving in the future. Those are more heavily trafficked. But you know, it's been a long drawn-out process. I appreciate everybody's input, the work Scott's done, the work that other people have done, the town and all that. But those are my thoughts on where we are right now. Very curious to see what the product looks like after the roads are
Next week.
redone. Yeah. And then maybe even notice how much dust that stuff kicks up compared to what we have now, you know. The other thing maybe is worth investigating, I don't know if there is a product, a liquid product or something that could solidify the surface. I'm not asking for asphalt or something, but I don't know. That's something maybe somebody could look into.
So it's very interesting, when you look at Petrus over here, and it was the second road that was done after Holton. And it's starting to solidify, harden where the heat has heated up or emulsified the tar in it.
Right.
And it's starting to kind of, the surface is great, and the dust, and again, the Heritage Center sits right there, and it's all white and stuff. And if you look at that, the dust is almost not there. So, you know, yeah, I do think the product will work, and it's going to be very interesting next week
Okay.
what they put down. But I do think Mike's staff will be on site.
Well, again, I don't know if the product that's in our neighborhood is a little different than that product. I mean, it's certainly got more sun exposure.
Mm-hmm.
It should be, at this time of year, the hottest millings in town.
But, you know, you mentioned a binding agent on it. You know, it's something we can work on and see.
Okay.
Yeah, if I could, Mayor, there are liquid emulsions that can be put on roads to do that. I think we applied that over on the West Gully experiment that we did there, that paving. And we heard a few comments about, the people that tracked it, onto their property, their porches, and any paved surfaces or concrete surfaces that they had there. But you can achieve this pretty much the same properties out of just compression. Traffic is the best thing for those, and sunlight, obviously, because it causes those particles in the recycled asphalt to bind together better. So right now, we're not doing the emulsion, but it could be a future, a liquid emulsion could be something that we try in the future. Right now, it's just the compression with the compactors.
So also, a couple of questions about the special assessment. If you live on a corner, is your assessment based on how much road footage you have?
That would be a process that would be determined by the commission at a later date.
Okay. And then would the residents that have access to Vic that are north of us, would they be assessed also?
Southern Oaks folks.
I really can't speak about particulars at this point in the process. There are a lot of consultants that would have to come on board and take a look at this, and so this is premature conversation at this point.
It's just trying to find a way to pay for it.
I understand, but I'm trying to get to a point where maybe, I'm sure the consultants cost money, right? If we can kind of figure this out, maybe we don't need the consultants. Because, I'm sorry, it sounded like that the Oakland Shores residents get to vote, and then how we vote determines what the council does. And,
Say something one more time, sorry.
okay, you said that depending on what our neighborhood wants, the council then will consider the special assessment and go forward.
Yeah, I think that if there's, Scott, was it 43 people in the neighborhood? Is that what you said, I think?
Well, you want homes or people?
Homes. It would be based on how many people, it would be based on units per home. But I thought there was 43 in there.
Well,
Let's just say it's 43.
So,
not that, again, it's gotta be vetted, but I think the simple math would be it's 43 people and the cost is X and it's divided by 43.
no, I understand that, but the decision to move ahead with it. Because based on my results with the road we have now, I don't want to spend thousands of dollars to pave that.
Well, and again, I think Scott said, is this was it a tactic to kind of spook this year?
I don't-
It's not, that's not the case at all.
No.
It's really legitimately, we do not have any money.
I understand.
And it's trying to satisfy, and look, I think all of us sitting up here, we'd love to have every single road in historic town hall, or historic part of Oakland paved, if you can, similar to what they did at Henshin. I don't believe any of us sitting here.
Well,
my point to that is, and we don't need to beat this up, but we're all milling over the idea of, this possibility, and we have no idea what it really means, what it means to the requirements to improve the sidewalks, the lighting, all that, the gutters, the drainage.
All of that would have to be studied.
Yeah.
Because you're putting in a surface where water doesn't percolate the dirt anymore.
correct.
It runs off the side. Yeah, there's swales on the side and stuff, but
So
if
the
somebody
idea,
comes in and says, I want sidewalks now you gotta,
right, so the idea is not just replacing what we have with asphalt. It's a bigger deal, way more expense.
right. And
It was not just asphalt on Henshin. There was a lot more you
Yeah.
know, underground water diversion.
That's correct. Thank you, Sal. Yeah.
And then, I just wanna jump in for a second, Mayor. Just like Gene had, John, I'm glad you had mentioned the 70-80%, you know, the dust that you made your study. And Gene, I'm glad you talked about trimming bushes, but yes, we do have a lot of streets that we have in the spirit of trimming bushes, we have to do a lot of trimming bushes on all these other streets who are also waiting for their dust control off of West Henshin, Daniels, and there's a lot of other roads, and we have this whole room filled up 10 times of what people are waiting for. But, Joel, yeah, once in a while we have to plant a tree. I'm with the agreement of making a thorough study on Vic at minimum for asphalt sooner than later. But the streets that have to get recycled asphalt, we have to move forward with the plan we have and complete our plan there at Oakland Shores with the recycled proper material, correct? But we always had the intention of one day paving the streets. And it may be that Arrington will be the first one on the list after we finish and complete our recycling asphalt on our dirt roads first, right? First, completing your sections that the contractor, you know, not beyond our control, but now we're gonna be on top of it, fix it. But yes, putting asphalt on Vic, to me, when I hear from you guys, that's one of the main, without even having a full study, I can see already when I drive by there that that's one of the most used roads. But that could be something that's gonna be patient, we're not gonna get this all done now. It's gonna happen, I think we have like a 5-year plan. So with some patience, we can get there and satisfy both the rest of the residents who are also waiting for their asphalt, for their recycled bins, and satisfy you guys there. I think that would be a great compromise with the big.
Yeah, I just wanted to, caution that spending a lot of money on a study to determine that each homeowner is gonna pay $10,000 to get a road, it ain't gonna happen.
Well, then, again, my
We don't
intention,
know what we're really studying for what.
John, my intention here, and I don't know if I can speak for the rest of us, but this is my opinion, I don't want the town to pay for any of the asphalt or have a special assessment or some sort of, a higher tax for the Oakland Shores. I want this to be just the way we're tackling everything else, one bite at a time, how we eat the elephant. And nobody has to pay for it. We all do in our taxes already, but not the Oakland Shore residents. I think we can get there. I think we can get there if you guys have a little bit more patience.
So just one more thought, and I don't know if you know the answer. If we did a special assessment and the town and the Oakland Shores agreed and got it done, that means we have to maintain that road ourselves too?
No, I think
Or does the
that-
town
it's
take
still,
that?
it's still town's road as any other public right of way road would be. Just like in Southern Oaks, it's the town's responsibility to maintain the road.
Okay.
Is what it would be. So
All right.
it's just, if you want a quick solution to get it done today, right now, this is the only solution we come up with. But we can be patient and, let's try this material, let's see if this does 70% of it cut down and whatever, and it creates a great surface to drive on.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, my hope is that the new material that undoes what the other guy did is
I hope so too.
even better than what.
I really hope so, because it was sad material that he put down.
Yeah, okay, thank you guys.
Well, and John, I think there's some confusion, so cause it's actually, it's up to the commission, it would be like if we heard from the majority of the residents of your neighborhood that wanted it paved, it would be the commission that would go forward, it wouldn't necessarily, I believe, be a vote by those residents. It could be something that would be decided by the commission, but again, we don't wanna do this, we would prefer to do the plan that we've already put forth to do, because and it's easy to say impact, using the word how the road is impacted by, Oakland Park. Using the word impact and impact fees are two totally different things, because some of the things that Stephanie said, and I understand not wanting to pay for consultants, but there's processes that we have to go through. We can't just say, well, we can see there's a lot of traffic coming from Oak Hill Park, there's been an impact, right? So, okay, that qualifies for impact fees. Unfortunately, that's not the way it works. And also, impact fees have very strict restrictions on how they can be used, which both Stephanie and Gabby and the other folks
Sure.
up here would, so we can't just use that money. And so we're basically having to use the budget of the town, which, you know, the folks that have been in the last few meetings that have seen where our budget is or reviewed the information that's provided online. I mean, you know, you're here regularly, it's just a tight budget, so I think we have a plan, we've just kind of paused that and changing the spender and things. But there are a lot of people beyond Oakland Shores that are also looking for work on their roads, and it's kind of, everybody's kind of in a holding pattern right now.
Right.
But we do have to do it in a time that we can afford to do it.
Sure.
I can't spend money today that I haven't earned yet.
Yeah, well, some do.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Can I just ask one question? Is it?
You have to come up to the podium, sir.
People at home can't hear you.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Parker, you mentioned that there was some liquid that was used for Petrus. I would, from my perspective, I've gone up and down Petrus.
Oh, no, not Petrus. It was just that little gully section. That was the very first, and it did turn out well. I mean, it might be hard as a rock and put like asphalt, but it was put on horrible.
And that's what people were complaining about with the.
Yes.
Okay. So when we first heard, and I wasn't a part of the meetings, but essentially when we heard that these roads were going to be addressed, what I heard was that it would be like Petrus. Was that ever kind of like, that was the goal?
That was the goal. That exactly was the goal, is to try to make it like Petrus and Hull.
And
Still is.
Yeah, Hull being down, Tubb Street.
Yes.
Across from the family church.
Yes. So Petrus turned out phenomenally. I think there's extremely limited dust. The road seems to have held very, very well.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, I can speak for myself. I can't speak for everyone here. But if the roads in Oakland Shores turned out like Petrus, I think we'd be thrilled. And we wouldn't have a problem. And then we wouldn't have to do studies, and we wouldn't have to do all this kind of stuff. So if we can ensure that the process that they followed to make Petrus happen is the same process that's followed for Oakland Shores, we'll be in good shape. And we're not going to have to keep going back to the drawing board, and people's bushes and trees and everything else will be maintained, and everybody in our town will be happy, because I think the real issue that has come is that we were under the impression that we were going to end up with a product that was no dust, and of course, I mean, it's Florida, there's going to be some version of dust even on, Highway 50, right? But what we've gotten is absurdly different from that.
Sure,
So if
yeah,
we
absolutely.
can aim at, let's have the quality that Petrus is, and I don't know how you're hiring this contractor and what the standard is and how the contract plays out, but if you're looking at this finished product and saying, here was the process that contractor went through to get to this finished product, if we can do that same process again, I'm not a construction human, but I would imagine if you do the same thing twice, you get the same result, right? So how can we ensure that?
So, it's not the process, it's the product. That product over there is a different product than what was put down over there, and that's why we had it removed. We did have 3 different engineering firms take a look at the remainder. They actually gave us direction on what portion of the roads to be removed. And in their opinion, three engineers, in their opinion, the material that was remaining over there would be acceptable. Now, acceptable to them, or you, or us, yeah, it was deemed acceptable. That's why we had the contractor remove about 2/3 of what was put down. So it's not the process, it's the product.
Right.
The process was the same, it was the product.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that Ford O 305 Edge Grove, I'm very good with my money, and I appreciate your comments about budgeting, but I would like to say for the record that this is not about nice to have versus need to have, or the other way around. I really think the amount of dust on the roads, or, like I know, John, you said you think it's 70-some% better. You know, we don't have any way of measuring that, but by my observation, there's still big plumes of you know, dust coming up when people drive by. And I worry about people's health. So this is a much different situation than, oh, this would be nice to pave. I don't care if my road's paved, but I do care about the amount of dust in the air and the amount of potential risk to the community who's inhaling this stuff as people are driving around. So it's, again, it's not about paving, it's about doing what's best for our community. Thank you.
Glenn Shipman, 102 Amanda Smith Drive. You mentioned the homeowners would have to take the cost of the paving if it was paved. Is that really fair? Because we're not the only ones benefiting from it. The whole town would be benefiting from these roads being paved. And you said it yourself. The old town, you would like to have paved. Well, everybody would be benefiting from it, so everybody should be sharing the cost of paving the road. I'm not understanding the singling these people out to have them pave the road if they're the only one, if everybody's benefiting from it. But if we were only benefiting from it and had gates at each end of it, yeah, I would understand that. So I'm thinking we all need to share the cost. Am I not thinking correctly, or?
Again, as I said before, it was, how do you get it done right now?
Well, I mean,
you know,
right now,
right, if you said, I want it done in 6 months' time.
Yeah.
Or a year's time, this is the only way the town can afford to do it. It's right here. Now, your community petition was submitted, signatures, and that is what we would go by to say, okay, these people. And I'm sure the Cox's Kevin would want his road paved at some point.
I'm sure, yeah, at some point. That's why I'm saying the whole
And
community.
Right, so, you know, the process probably, like Commissioner Ramos said, is to slowly over time go down.
Well, slowly over time, putting a Band-Aid on top of Band-Aid is not gonna work.
Yeah, but then if that was the case, we could have just said, we don't have the money to pave it, we should put the millings down, let's just leave it as is right now with the white dust. And that's not fair to.
Or we pave Oakland Shores and no one else gets anything done to their road for the next 5 years because we don't have the money. I mean, there just isn't the money for us to do this. I mean, I don't know how many times we.
I'm not asking for paving myself, but just take care, maintain. The only time I see anybody maintaining our roads before the Band-Aids went on it was after a rainstorm with a grader. I never seen a roller, I never see a water truck, I never seen a water truck in this town.
There is no water truck in the town.
Exactly, and not even put a little water tank behind the golf cart that I see driving around.
And that would only last probably a couple hours until it dries up and then it's back. You got the
Time after time after time, it'd build a bone on that dirt road.
So, I will say that the maintenance on this, road, like Petrus and Hull, I don't believe you guys have had to run a grader down it at all or do anything to it.
No.
It's kind of held up itself pretty well. That's what, we have high aspirations in the new material. And
I
it's
hope
right.
it works.
I hope it works too, because again, what we discussed was we wanted a road like Petrus or Hull, where there were, came out like that, it would have been great. Unfortunately, we acknowledged and we've said it, that the material used was inferior material. It was absolutely terrible material.
Is there a timeline for, you have a new construction group coming in? But I mean for these other roads as well.
Next Monday, the contractor has assured me he will be in your neighborhood, and then with our upcoming budget year, we have funding set aside preliminarily until it's voted on by the commission in September. But we anticipate doing, the other streets. And there was a study done that actually laid out the streets and prioritized them.
That's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Scott Graham, 305. So since we've been talking money and I know a lot of what's been going on with the roads, I want to hit a couple of your comments out there. The road on Arrington, that surface is not getting changed. The dust you have, that's done. 2 years ago, I came in here and petitioned the town to try calcium chloride, magnesium chloride. The town has got a little water trailer that they pulled behind the truck when it was dusty over here. You mix calcium chloride into that water, you have dust control. It lasts for months. I've tried it in front of my own home with a small mixture that I could make up. I got videos of the UPS truck on the old road and then leaving what I sampled, and the dust kicks up. I had no dust where I treated it. They used to use it in the towns that I lived in before. Talking about, oh yes, I've lived on dirt roads all my life. All the towns on those dirt roads that I lived on treated them for dust with magnesium chloride or some type of material to keep the dust down.
Scott,
They didn't just
no,
let it blow.
How long did it last? The study, the test you did in your house?
Well over a month and a half, unless it got graded, because once it gets graded, it gets milled into the surface. There's many communities that use this. Anyways, so talking about money, where does the money go? If our roads are completed between last year and this year, we'll have spent $68,500, again, still trying new materials, because you guys didn't want to talk about paving. Paving, our community would have run $132,000. That's what I approximated from the East Tension budget. I even gave our roads a foot wider berth, 3,300 feet long at 273 or whatever was on the thing. It's $132,000. We almost spent half that by the time we finish up with the roads that we have.
And that was just asphalt.
Yeah, that was asphalt on East Tension. That was the example. We've already got ditches. We've already got, I don't think there's going to be much to have to do to talk about that. But anyway, so now the impact fees, the $500,000 that we're going to spend and put this material on our other roads, it's only improving from the fact that it's going to fill in, low-lying areas like the road next to the park down there. And it'll help to smooth that out and give some watershed to those areas. But they may become more dusty.
So let me correct you, we don't have 500,000 in impact fees. It's not road impact fees that we're using. We budgeted $500,000.
And
Under transportation, Town of Oakland Impact Fee Fund 25-26 proposed budget, dirt road improvements, $500,000.
Yeah, that's not under impact fees, is it?
That's
That's those
the
impact.
budget workshop.
Right.
Those aren't the final numbers.
Right, but I don't think that the dirt road maintenance that we would do for the mill is under impact fees.
No, I think that comes out of general fund.
Correct.
Okay, it just says impact fee proposed budget and under transportation.
But
dirt
there
road
is money
improvements.
set aside to do this process.
Okay.
To do this process, but not coming out of impact fees.
Okay, and then the last thing I want to hit is West Gully, because you guys keep saying West Gully was a failed experiment. It wasn't put down right. West Gully had the bonders and the sealing agents that would keep this dust down. If that road was put down with a paving machine, that would be a beautiful road. And that was 70 cents more, I think, than what we're paying here for our roads. And that is very, very low dust. So, thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Sarah Meyer at 402 East Vic Avenue. I'm at the corner opposite Joel. Just to address the potential of using special assessments, I think that asking for our roads to be paved in Oakland Shores is not asking for some sort of special privilege that goes above and beyond what, you know, other neighbors or other citizens of our town already rightfully enjoy. It would be putting undue burden on us for asking us to pay specifically for our roads to be paved out of our own pocket. So I just think that realize you just put it on the table because you wanted us to be aware of that, but I don't think it's something we should be pursuing to look into. And then as far as, you know, the millings and the cost of what we have down there now, asphalt millings versus going for full asphalt, it might be more affordable now, but I wonder, and maybe you have the answer to this, how often do you have to resurface it or treat it or take care of it and maintain it compared to if you just actually, you know, went ahead and did asphalt from the beginning? I feel like asphalt is gonna last a lot longer, require less maintenance, there's no potholes, and then we would all go away. I just, you know, that's something to think about. If we need to be more patient and wait for asphalt, maybe that's the solution, I'm not sure. But I think we might end up spending more money down the road if we just continue to put a Band-Aid over a bullet wound. And then additionally, as far as West Vic goes, I think if the developer in his development agreement did not get required to pave West Vic as part of his connection to that intersection, that is a serious miss, I think. I don't know how that didn't happen. If he's making connections to roads to go through our town and didn't pay for improvements at the trips he would be generating to put on that road, I think that's a real shame. So that should have addressed your trees and bushes scenario. So I don't know if you have any answers to some of those questions, but that's just, I wanted to put my opinion out there.
Sarah.
Yeah.
We're glad you're here.
Thanks.
This is what we've been waiting for.
Okay.
Okay? That to hear. Scott's come up, John's come up, but finally, and I told Scott, please, bring people to the meeting.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you're here. And I don't think anybody here wants to do a special assessment.
I know.
There's just avenues we have to explore. And again, I'll say it again, just don't have the money, but to answer your question on the maintenance, I believe the Pinterest in the whole has held up really well. They've been now almost 6 to 8 months maybe.
Yeah, maybe not quite that long, but about 4 or 5 months, both of those, maybe a little bit longer. But we've performed no maintenance on Petrus.
So, you know, we're all hopeful that this material coming in will work. And you know, if we get to the point where we're saying, well, the material, and, you know, we can look at Vic and we can certainly discuss it at the end, to see, okay, is Vic warrant a use of impact fees to pave it because of the people coming from Oakland Park coming down to Arc or to Tubb to get out of the road. I know they blast through my neighborhood, they come through. You know, is that something to look at? Absolutely. Let's put it on the table. Let's explore all the options. I mean, I think eventually we all want to try to get to that area where our roads are somewhat maintained and paved and in good shape. That's government, right? That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think 6 to 8 months is way too soon to say whether or not it's really holding up well
Right.
compared to
Correct.
asphalt, maybe compared to Vic and Edge Road.
Asphalt could last 20 years before you need to do something. You know, our neighborhood hasn't been paved since it was built back in the early 90s,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So,
That's the point I'm trying to make.
right.
Yeah.
But, you know, as Commissioner Keller said, they paid, the people who bought in that neighborhood paid for that. That developer, I guarantee you, wrapped the cost of that asphalt into the lot.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, Oakland Park developer paid for Star. Why didn't they
Yeah,
pay
they
for
did.
other things?
That was an
I mean,
agreement.
why didn't they go further? I don't know.
Yeah, because they were, the thought process was everybody's gonna go run Star. And they're
Well, if they
gonna
could
run
enforce that would be great.
Sorry, that's not all the answers I have.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, yes. Ed.
So, listening, Ed Kulikowski, 51 Vandermeer, so listening to all the conversation tonight, there was one other option that came to mind that was kind of glanced, and that could be that the community turns into a gated community. And then the residents have all the say about what happens, and they have complete control over the dust or lack of it. So it's another option.
I would do that if I could put a toll up.
Recover my costs. That's right. Okay, anyone else? Okay, I think we covered our other policy matters, and we covered public forum too. Okay. Anybody have anything besides dirt roads they want to talk about? No, okay. Okay, so we're gonna, we open the public forum, we'll close the public forum. And you know, I think I can speak for all of us. We appreciate you guys coming out. This is, it's a little more fun, you know? It's good to hear from what you say, you know, and it's not like we are not taking it to heart. I mean, look, we discussed tonight, let's look at, what can we do there? Let's, you know, the calcium stuff, I mean, we look at that and see what that does. But I think number one, we need to wait until, let's get this road complete, let's see what it does, and hopefully it turns out absolutely wonderful. Joel, you said it, hopefully it comes out just like Petrus. So we can see what happens and then go from there. Okay, so moving on to last few items on our agenda, town manager and department reports.
I'm just gonna keep it short, but I wanna say what a great job Gabby is doing. This was her first audit. You know, she took it pretty personally, and I told her, you know, auditors don't come in not to find things wrong, right? They're not doing their job if they don't. So, you know, some of these issues that they brought up tonight, I wanted to let you know we're already addressing, where we're putting procedures in place. We have 3 people looking at bank reconciliations. So we're trying to level in other layers of oversight to accommodate some of their comments. One of the other things that we're working on as a town that Gabby's taking the lead on is the state of Florida has a DOGE, a Department of Governmental Efficiency, that's not very efficient. But they're asking for a lot of information on a lot of different formats, even though they already have access to it on what's reported to them. So Gabby's trying to figure out exactly what they're asking for and what format. And she's working with Mike Richardson to try to get that completed. So it's taking a lot of extra time. Hopefully by next year, you know, the audit will be smoother. She'll understand the process. DOGE will be able to use the same templates. So I think it'll be a lot better for her next year. But I just want to give her recognition for everything she's doing above and beyond right now.
Good job, Gabby.
Gabby, thank you very much. You are doing an extraordinary job by yourself. And I want to just reiterate what they said here on the council, is that if you need help, and we should provide some help for her, not because there's no intention for you to make fraud, but having someone overlook what you're doing when you're doing so much. Sometimes you may miss something, not intentionally, but just you're tired, you're overworked. So having someone to overlook what you're doing is great. I know that having an assistant.
She does have an assistant.
Okay.
So Ty Brown moved over from utility billing and is her assistant. Unfortunately, because we've had some vacancies in the front area in utility billing, we haven't been able to give the attention. So once we just offered the utility billing clerk position to somebody, once we get that full filled up and Andrew can be the utility billing supervisor solely, then Ty can focus on helping Gabby. So that is the plan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gabby. Speaking of Gabby, you got anything?
No. No, just working on Doge and finishing the audit.
Did you tell me we have no waste because we have no money to waste?
Yeah. Well, like Elise said, they already have the information. It's everything that gets provided to them through the audit, and it's on their website. So they can go on their own website and download everything they're asking for. But I'm having to give it to them. So that's taking my time right now. So
that's not very efficient. Oh.
Mike?
No, I don't have anything to bring to the table tonight.
You do, I let you cover it.
What?
You have a new employee starting.
Okay, so as everybody knows, we've been soliciting for some time for an assistant public works director to relieve some of the load on public works and provide some additional oversight of staff, and eventually to take over my position if they so are desirous of applying for it. So we have made an offer, and he has accepted Mr. John L. Kemp, who comes with a significant background of utility experience. I worked with him today for about 4 full hours just to gain a better knowledge of his skills and expertise, aside from the interview process that we had. So I feel very confident that he's going to make a good employee. And
That's it.
that's it.
You want to talk about the $1.5 million that we got, what you're using it for?
Okay, so Representative Spencer talked about a $1.5 million, and we were not awarded, but we were approved for that through the new state budget. We've still got a contract with the state. That'll happen probably in November. And then the 1.5 million is the next step in the septic to sewer program. And the information that we sent into the state legislature, I think it included about 45 potential connections. So there, once that infrastructure is in the ground, folks will have the opportunity to connect to the central sewer.
And those areas aren't?
I'm sorry?
Those areas where that sewer line is going to run?
So the way that we manage to get into the state budget, you have to leverage everything else that's going on around you to take advantage of that and sell it to the legislators. So we took the construction of Lift Station 7, which is approximately $1.1 million that the town is paying for. And we leveraged that with the infrastructure that the developer is putting in. And I think that was something like 600,000 sewer infrastructure. And then that way the state only had about 40% of the overall project. So I think that's what got us the money, honestly.
It's running up a bit, right next to Jeannie's house, right, or up her road even further?
It will. Give it about 2 years, but yes. West Vic, Briley Avenue, Daniels, those streets over there, and then up to the trail from Briley. So anybody wanting to look at a map can call my office. I'll bring it to their house.
There's a little method behind the madness.
Yeah.
It's on the road. So yeah, thank you, Mike. Is anything?
That's it.
That's it?
I guarantee.
All right. Hey, we're special guest Brad Cornelius, who's our town planner, contracted town planner.
Yes, sir.
How are you, Brad?
Very good, sir. I don't have a lot other just to say, tomorrow I'll be sending to Elise an updated development list of all the development activity we have going on here in the town. There's quite a bit of activity, pending projects on State Road 50. So I'll be sending that list to Elise to update you all. I also give you a warning. Expect public hearings in September and October for most of these projects. So we'll have a lot of projects coming before you in the fall of this year. And they're good projects.
Good commercial projects. Good.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Brad. Chief, you're very quiet tonight.
I'm just thankful and lucky to be a part of this team.
Great, thank you. Okay, so, oh, Kathy,
No, I have no report, thank you.
Okay. Rochelle?
So I had a conversation with Mike Parker about the roundabout that I just wanted to kind of bring to the table. There was some delays in putting the acorn in, do some infrastructure and running sprinklers, and I had a conversation with him about, since that's been delayed, that personally, I would like to see the roundabout completed as one cohesive project rather than the acorn goes up and several months later, the Oakland wording goes up and then the landscaping. So I had suggested that we kind of wait till we have all the components and complete it as one project within a couple weeks rather than steps several months, because this is going to be our first kind of major marker and entrance into our town, and I would just like to see it as a complete cohesive project rather than kind of a piece by piece. And Mike said that, they can certainly make that happen, but I just wanted to put that out there for y'all to agree or disagree with me, but I just think it's important that we have kind of a wow moment instead of a, oh look, the acorn, oh look, the lettering, and see that as one cohesive project.
I like the idea, Commissioner.
Mike, are we good with that?
We're good with it. I think we can pull it off within a week's time, not a week from today.
Right.
But overall in a week.
Right, I know we're still waiting for some components, so.
Yeah.
That would be lovely. You guys
Well,
good with that?
one just quick note. Whatever we do out there, we just have to be safe. It is a roundabout. People drive around a roundabout, trucks around, so we have to keep safety in mind.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Commissioner
Great idea. We could do the move that bus and everybody just appear there with the acorn and the landscape. Nothing to report. Thank you.
Well, I had nothing to add, but I guess I want to make one comment. There's discussion about, the 1.5 million that we got from the state. And, we've been at the state, for multiple years receiving dollars, and we had a couple of those throughout the years. But it's a process, It first starts off with the staff. Mike Parker's been a major quarterback for a long time. And, we've seen the legislator here, Mr. Spencer. Before we had Geraldine Thompson, who we lost earlier this year. She was the one who really pushed it. And when she passed away, it was a senator up in Jacksonville had to take on pushing that initiative to keep it going. So between Spencer and Bruce Antone and some others here, and then of course you had the commission and the residents being a part of it. But what we don't know is we have lobbyists that push the initiative. We have lobbyists that really carry the message. And I didn't know he was going to be here tonight, but James Harris is one of our lobbyists who was sitting in the audience, who snuck in real quick and nobody even knew. And he's been our lobbyist for over 10 years, and he's been a part of the team that has really taken the message. It's not about just us pushing it. I give you an example. When we first tried to get dollars from the state, we got a big no. We got some consultants, some people told us to change the name. We added the Lake of Pocket, so that's why you see the Lake of Pocket name on it. At first it was the Town of Oakland Initiative, and Mike Parker can attest to that. But then when you start adding, just like you said, you leverage what's going on in the town, what's going on in the area. Yes, you leverage that. We are affecting Lake of Pocket in a positive way. You leverage the economic development, you leverage housing, making everybody safe. But also you really, the staff really carries it. Commission, we come and help and support, but the lobbyists, they are the ones, they're not just talking to the local elected as far as from the state, but they're talking to people around the state, because to get in the budget, you need both houses, you need all parties as far as Republican and Democrats to push the initiative. And I just want to make sure we understand that, and as residents, we do have people that are really working hard. So James Harris and also Gunster, those groups are really working hard for us to make sure that this happens. And again, like I mentioned earlier, we did get a couple of no's over the years, but please understand, it's a lot of work to get, like Mr. Spencer talked about earlier, there's a lot of work to get these things done. And We just happen to be blessed to have some good people who may not make a lot of noise, but they are really working behind the scenes. So I just want to say thank you to James Harris, and really thank you to everyone involved to make sure this happened, because when the document is created and the initiative is talked about, it's not just a piece of paper put together. Mike Parker and the team, they're really working diligently, because we want to go back again next year, and we'll probably have another process along with the mayor and the commission come alongside that project. So I just want to make sure we understand it is a full team approach to get those budget dollars to come towards us to help us to do the things that we're trying to do for the town. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. For me, it's summertime again, and summertime means that we get letters from Orange County Fire Department on fire fee increases, and guess what? We got one. So the increase on that went up to 2.3 is what it did. It went up based on our valuation of property in the town. The good thing is, I believe we have it, and Gabby and Elise have accounted for that and have put it in our budget for this year. So we should be okay.
Yes, from our budget workshop, I put in that buffer that you requested, and that covered the increase, so we are good in that.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens again next year. I'm sure that they're gonna hit us with another one next year, and trust me, we're trying to explore other solutions to not get hit with that. I think we all have discussed it last year, that there's just absolutely no way we're using $2.3 million worth of fire service in the town. So, with that, that's all I have.
All right, all hearts and minds are satisfied as adjourned. It's 8:54 p.m.
Thank you.
Is it in?
Oh, yes, it's right.